This video is brought to you by Fool's Gold Into the Bellowing Wilds, a Dingo Doodles level 10 to 20 adventure on Kickstarter right now. Check it out using our link below the video. And by Steamforged Games and their Epic Encounters series. With just one box, you can run an awesome cinematic adventure that your players will never forget. Use our link below the video to see all your Epic Encounter options. Hello and welcome to the Gallant Goblin. It's finally time. We're here with our full set review of Wild Beyond the Witchlight. We've reviewed the Valor's Call starter set, the League of Malevolence starter set, the Witchlight Carnival premium set, the Swamp Gas Balloon premium set, the multiple promo sets, and the collector's edition. So, it's time to look at the full booster collection. As always, these Icons of the Realms pre-painted minis are sold in booster boxes like this, which contain a semi-random collection of minis. We have a general FAQ available on our website at gallantgoblin.com. Now, this set differs from the usual sets in a couple of different ways. This adventure has more small creatures than usual, so you will sometimes get a box that doesn't contain a large or huge mini. To make up for that, some boxes contain 5 minis instead of 4. And some of the minis in this set are modular and come with multiple parts that you can switch out, or come in pieces that you can combine certain minis together. Don't worry, I will show you exactly what I mean when we go through it. And for the record, all the minis that we're showing you today that weren't in the brick that we unboxed a little bit over a week ago are from the collector's edition. I can't imagine that they're going to be any different than the minis that come out of the booster boxes, and our duplicates looked identical to me, but I know some folks like to know those little details. Now, before we jump in, a couple of really quick notes. First, if you like our kobold plushie here, we're gearing up to launch our very first Kickstarter to make him and his kobold friends. Come sign up to be notified when we launch at koboldplush.com. The more people who sign up, the more likely we are to be able to make the whole line of plushies. And get some free kobold adventures and comics at our website, bonfirebites.com. Finally, come join our first ever mini painting contest to win yourself some prizes and to celebrate our awesome community's creativity. Learn more at gallantgoblin.com/painting contest. And let's do a giveaway for this video too. To enter, just be a subscriber to the channel and leave me a comment down below letting me know which of the minis in this set is your favorite. The winner will get a booster of Wild Beyond the Witchlight when it releases. So for now, sit back, grab a drink, get your minis to paint, because we have a lot of figures to get through. As always, the lowered number of minis here are common, so they're more likely to show up in your booster boxes. Number 1 in the set is the Brigganock Miner. These are little mouse-sized creatures who live and work around mines harvesting wish stones. Wish stones are created when people make a non-magical wish by, for example, wishing on a falling star. These miners seek out the happy wish stones, refine the wish stones into gems, and use them as decorations and currency. Their souls live outside their bodies, as you can see on this mini with this little wispy bit of light. The Brigganock Miner has a CR of 1/8, and it has one of the longer stat blocks I've seen for a creature with such a low CR. There aren't too many generic creatures in this set that are easily reusable in other adventures, but this is certainly one. A little goblin armed with a spear and a nice metal helmet. Despite his name as a Feywild Goblin, there's nothing particularly Feywildy about him, distinguishing him from the material plane compatriots. You certainly will encounter some goblins in the Feywild on your adventures here, one particular goblin especially, but we'll talk about her in a little while. The goblins here use the standard goblin stat block. Now this is a pretty important mini, as the Harengon are one of the 2 new playable races introduced in Wild Beyond the Witchlight. The rabbit folk Harengon are found in the Feywild, where they aren't generally the nicest of folks. They harass and mock travelers, and they extort them for money. They generally draw the line at killing, but otherwise, coming across them in your travels isn't a particularly auspicious event. However, if you're a GM who likes an excuse to bust into song, and I know there's some of you out there, they do have a marching song in the book that I'm sure your players will enjoy. A Harengon Brigand, which is hard to say by the way, has a CR of 1/8. If you're looking for more Harengon minis, you can pick up some as promos. Check the eye in the upper right hand corner of your screen to see our full video about the Witchlight promos. Bullywugs have a huge presence in the land of Hither, which is the first region your PCs will visit in the Feywild. You even get rolling tables to help you come up with Bullywug names and honorifics. And you'll need them because the Soggy Court, great name, is a community of bullywugs who have an overdeveloped sense of courtly grandeur. They like everything that comes with fancy monarchies, from the pomp and courtesies right down to all the courtly intrigue and backstabbing. Excuse me while I go watch a few seasons of The Crown to get ready to roleplay these guys for all they're worth. The Bullywug Knight here gets his own CR3 stat block. Long ago, a Seelie Fey was accused of betraying the Summer Queen, who then cursed him and all members of his house. The storybooks refer to him only as Dubkatha, Dark Crow in common, and all his house's descendants are referred to as Sub-Sith, or Darklings. Their bodies absorb light, which accelerates their aging, so you'll often find them covering their entire bodies when they're outside, like Nicole Kidman. The light they do absorb explodes from their bodies when they die, so watch out for that. Their CR1 half stat block is included in the adventure. Boggles are the little creatures who hide under beds and startle children in the night. They're able to create little magical openings that allow them to travel short distances and cause bits of mischief. And they secrete a special kind of oil from their pores that they can make either slippery or sticky. This oil becomes particularly important in this adventure. You'll find some boggles in the land of Thither, where they sprout from captive children's fears. They have a CR of 1/8. Sprites are generally the more serious little fey creatures, especially when compared to pixies. They're often firm warriors, protectors, and judges of moral character. If you're found wanting, you might also be found with dozens of little tiny arrows in you a few minutes later. In this adventure, you'll come across 4 particularly bitter little sprites called Bitsy, Dandy, Mintleaf, and Tempella, who will try to provoke the party into a fight. They have a CR 1/4 stat block in the basic rules. This set and this adventure really do cover the gamut of fey creatures. This is a Korred, a small fey creature that's as close to an earth elemental as you can get. They know the stone and earth better than anyone outside the elemental plane of earth. They can smell veins of metal and gems, feel the rise and fall of bedrock under the earth, and sense where caves are present. If you have one tagging along with you, they'll see every secret door set into the cavern wall like it had a big neon sign above it. The other neat thing about them is that their magical hair will turn into whatever material was used to cut it. They have a CR of 7, which is pretty high for a small creature. Redcaps are great. They're homicidal, bloodlusty little fey creatures who just want to murder everyone. At first, they look like little tiny blood-stained mushrooms in the ground until they pop up and start a murder party. In order to stay alive, it has to bathe its little cap in the blood of its victims at least once every 3 days. So it has good reason to murder everyone it can see and hear. And if you want to fall in love with a redcap, wait till you meet Razmataz on the Glass Cannon podcast. Redcaps in this adventure are spawned from Skabatha's angry outbursts. They have a CR of 3. Hey, here's a surprise. More Myconids. I love it. We got a pretty nice set of Myconids in the last Icons of the Realm set, Snowbound. You can see our full review of that in the eye in the upper right-hand corner of your screen now. Happy to get another one, and interestingly, I'm not seeing a Myconid in the Wild Beyond the Witchlight adventure at all, making me wonder if this mini is a holdover from Snowbound. Lately, some minis that are originally supposed to be in a certain set sometimes get delayed for whatever reason, and perhaps this is one of those. Or perhaps I just missed it in the adventure. If you know the answer, let me know in the comments section down below. A Myconid Adult has a CR of 1/2. Quicklings certainly do show up in this adventure. They are tiny-sized fey creatures who can run faster than the eye can track. Their ancestors angered the Queen of Air and Darkness one too many times by their tardiness, so she cursed their entire line, shrinking the creatures down and accelerating their metabolism, making them super swift little creatures who also burn out their life force really quickly, living no longer than 15 years. They're also fairly evil little buggers with a CR of 1. Here's one of the best little minis in the set, and one of the better new critters in the book. The Campestri are happy-go-lucky little mushrooms with Disney faces who just want to listen to music and have a good time. It doesn't matter how good the music is, they'll happily sing along with their obnoxiously nasal falsetto voices while dancing around like little toddlers. Problem is that bullywugs consider them a delicacy, so be sure you keep your minis separated. Campestris have a CR of, you guessed it, 0. Bobby, and that's B-O-B-I, the base is misspelled here, is described as a boisterous young male dwarf and a member of the Getaway Gang. Think of them rather like the Lost Boys. They stand in opposition to Granny Nightshade, helping other children escape her evil lair of Loom Lurch. They live in a treehouse up in the branches of a treant known as Little Oak in the Fey realm known as Thither. Bobby uses the CR0 commoner stat block, and based on his clothing, I think this is a good mini to slot into your Rime of the Frost Maiden adventures too. And many thanks to Chronomogo over at minisgallery.com for helping me track down the identity of this little fellow. Glister is one half of the Selenelian twins, a pair of high elves who used to be performers at the Witchlight Carnival until, you guessed it, they went missing. They were born during a celestial event and blessed with magical abilities. Gleam is blessed with moonlight powers, and Glister here with sunlight. You can tell them apart by their sun and moon masks. They're able to change sex at the end of a long rest, and share a CR2 Selenelian twin stat block. Glister is able to fire off a ray of sunlight that deals radiant damage and blinds foes. Glister is full of confidence and grace. Gleam is the more introverted of the pair, though she's extraordinarily kind and caring. In the adventure, they're trapped in the domain of Indolin Moongrave. Gleam's shadow has been stolen from her and has been put to use by Moongrave as a thief in the Witchlight Carnival, so it's likely that the party will meet Gleam's shadow well before encountering Gleam herself. They both want nothing more than to keep each other safe and return to the Witchlight Carnival where they belong. And that brings us to the end of our common minis. Moving into the uncommon figures now, we have another mini that should get a lot of use. It is half of a blink dog. Blink dogs are one of the more ubiquitous fey creatures in D&D, showing up in a ton of adventures. I mean, who doesn't want to play with a teleporting, lawful good pup? I always thought they looked rather ferocious for supposedly being good-natured doggos, though. Blink dogs have a CR1 quarter stat block in the basic rules. Sir Talavar here is a mustachioed fairy dragon knight of the Summer Queen. If you watched our review of the Swamp Gas Balloon Mini, which you can see in the eye in the corner of your screen now, you may remember that one of the first things your party will encounter in the Feywild is a crashing balloon. Well, one of the occupants of said balloon is this fellow here, who can provide some exposition about the current state of Prismeer, this region of the Feywild, to the PCs. He has a CR2 stat block in the adventure, and I think this mini is perfectly usable as a generic fairy dragon too. Chucklehead isn't a plant creature, unfortunately, but is in fact a goblin boss named Thug. His story is actually kind of tragic. He has a maggot that has burrowed into his brain. The maggot has altered his brain chemistry, making him a kinder, more empathetic goblin, but it's also slowly killing him. The PCs can cure him, but it also turns him back into an uncaring, self-serving creature. Chucklehead's head was transformed by fey magic to resemble a toffee apple, and he's quite sensitive about it. I do think this figure can also serve as a great Leshy mini for your Pathfinder games. He uses the CR1 Goblin Boss stat block from the Monster Manual. Now this is a mini that's pretty specific to this adventure. It's an animated oil can named Squirt. In its original non-sentient form, it was brought to the Feywild by dwarves who wanted to use it to harvest some Boggle oil. Remember me mentioning earlier that the Boggle oil was going to come up again? Well, one thing led to another. The dwarves were put to sleep by pixies, a party broke out, and someone thought it would be funny to animate the oil can, and here we are. Now, Squirt is a party monster oil can running on fumes, but ready to throw back at a moment's notice. He can also serve as a guide for the characters and their journeys. He has a CR1 quarter stat block. Will is the Peter Pan of the Getaway Gang. You can find him in the land of Thither, boisterously causing mischief for Granny Nightshade. You'll find wanted posters for him up all across the land of Thither. Like Peter, he is boastful, impulsive, and full of merriment and mirth. He's eager to recruit more kids into his band of merry misfits. There's more to Will than there appears to be, though, but I'll leave you to discover that on your own. Part of that is what stat block he uses, so you'll just have to play the adventure to find out. Star is a Displacer Beast kitten and Will of the Feywild's pet, and it comes with a new CR1/8 Displacer kitten stat block. If you watched our review of the Witchlight Carnival Premium set, you may remember Durlagron, the Displacer Beast who's looking after lost children after her own kitten went missing. Well, here she is. The Witchlight Carnival lost a lot of people recently, and it seems like you may find them all in your travels in the Feywild. Now here's where things start getting interesting. Clapperclaw is a scarecrow created by Granny Nightshade. He didn't want to perform the evil task she ordered him to do, so he ran away. Unfortunately, he was waylaid by Agdon Longscarf, whom we'll talk about shortly, who stole his head, which looks like a stag skull. Now he's using an old gourd as a replacement, but he really wants his original head back. Now, this mini comes with both heads that are interchangeable. Clapperclaw is another creature like Squirt who might end up traveling with the party as a guide for a good bit of the adventure, so it might be a pretty big moment when you surprise your players by switching out his head if they manage to recover it for him. He has a CR of 1/2. Here's another mini that should get some general use in your other campaigns, but Perytons do have a presence in the Land of Yon in the Witchlight Adventure 2. The party will meet a wood elf prince who is trying to light a series of beacons for a reason that I'll let you discover on your own. He's constantly thwarted by a series of Perytons who are, like most everything else in the Feywild, not exactly what they appear to be. One thing to remember about all Perytons is that while they appear to have the body and wings of a bird of prey and the head of a stag, their shadows appear humanoid. They have a CR of 2. And here's our Pixie mini. This adventure is just riddled with pixies and pixie dust. I recommend just having a bag of high quality edible glitter at your table to dust on your players' desserts anytime they earn some pixie dust. In the game, pixie dust grants your character the ability to fly for a minute. Pixies are pretty much what you imagine them to be, overexcitable little giggly tricksters. One of the first pixies the party may encounter is named Jeremy, which I love. Pixies have a CR of 1/4. We talked about Darklings a bit earlier. Older ones can undergo a ritual to become a Darkling Elder. They're marked with glowing tattoos channeling away some of the Darkling's absorbed light. And if the ritual is successful, they grow into these taller, more elven-looking forms, and their CR goes up to 2. You'll meet a Darkling Elder named Charm and her 2 Darkling cohorts in the realm of Hither. Charm flies around in a rain cloud balloon, which would have been a really difficult mini for WizKids to make. The Grell is another curious addition to the set, as I don't think a Grell shows up in Wild Beyond the Witchlight. Grells are floating alien aberrations that you'll generally find in the Underdark. They can poison and paralyze with their tentacles, drag their prey away to their lairs for them to snack on later. Grells do appear in Rime of the Frost Maiden, so again, maybe this is a holdover. Who knows? But it's a fantastic looking Grell mini. Grells have a CR of 3. Amidor is a 3-foot-tall talking dandelion who enjoys speaking in verse and falls head over heels in love faster than actors at a Romeo and Juliet audition. This swashbuckler is the 3rd and final guide and companion that the party will discover. He shows up in the realm of Yon, along with Gleam, one of the missing twins, and Amidor's dearest love, Pollinella, the honeybee. Amidor has a CR of 1/2. Back to our Bullywugs from the Soggy Court, we have the Bullywug Royal. Honestly, the Bullywugs are low-key my favorite minis in this set, and I cannot wait to encounter them in the adventure. I just wish we had a mini of the Bullywug Royal riding a giant toad. We have 2 separate minis, and we clearly have the technology to make modular minis and mounts, so come on, WizKids, make some more dreams come true. The Bullywug Royal has a CR of 3. Here's our first large mini, Lamorna the Unicorn. Lamorna's mate, Eladon, was captured by the Hourglass Coven and had its horn removed. The magic of that horn was used to imprison Zybilna, which led to all this trouble. Lamorna is a character who really doles out the exposition to the players, setting them on the path of the full adventure. And her mini is a pretty nice unicorn mini that you can easily reuse in other adventures. She uses the CR5 regular unicorn stat block. Cradlefall is a green dragon wormling and Granny Nightshade's beloved pet. Like your average kitty cat, he likes to hide in boxes, namely Jack-in-the-Boxes, where he's likely to burst out when the crank is turned to attack the PCs. And again, like your average kitty cat, he's able to teleport from box to box at his leisure. He uses the green dragon wormling stat block, and yeah, this is one of the best dragon wormlings that we've gotten. I love it. It's just sad that we didn't get a Jack-in-the-Box mini to put him in. He has a CR of 2. Definitely one of the cooler minis in the set with its iridescent looking wings is the giant dragonfly here. Giant dragonflies are an attraction at the Witchlight Carnival where folks can ride on one on a flying tour around the carnival site. There's also the possibility of being transformed into a giant dragonfly during one part of the adventure. And as you can see in the art, giant dragonflies also serve as mounts for certain fairy creatures. They have a CR of 1/2. Come on, what a great mini design. The only way to make this one better is by throwing a Bullywug Royal on top. Though now that I think about it, that feels a little bit like getting a piggyback ride from a gorilla. Still awesome. In a little bit, we'll meet the head Bullywug, Gullop the XIX. Well, this is probably his mount, and the feat may belong to the toad's handler, Vlonk. See, the toad's favorite game is Swallow the Guard, and Gullop has ordered Vlonk to let the toad play anytime it feels like it. Giant toads have a CR of 1. It's not a flail snail, but it is the next best thing, a giant snail. And you don't know fun until you've been to a giant snail race, which you can attend at your local Witchlight Carnival. A bar in Houston called Little Woodrose does turtle racing, and this is even better. Your PCs can even participate as snail jockeys if they want. Each of the 8 snails in the race gets a name, a team color, and a pit crew of 3 pixies. Saddle up! Here's our first huge-sized mini, the Fomorian. Allow me to introduce you to Dubforgale, a gluttonous Fomorian who intends to conquer Prismeer. Kellic of the League of Malevolence caught the Fomorian invading Zybilna's tower and managed to lure it to the banquet hall until the Hourglass Coven could find a way to deal with it. In the meantime, it's eating them out of house and home. When the PCs meet him, he's demanding the cake that Kellic promised him. 8 tiers high, lit with blood-red candles, and icing white as snow. Fomorians have a CR of 8. Our last uncommon mini is the troll. Not a lava troll, or a swamp troll, or a nacho cheese troll. Nope, just a troll. And somewhat surprisingly, I don't see a troll in this adventure. Maybe I'm wrong and he's hiding in there somewhere, but you'll get plenty of use out of this mini. Trolls are just about the most ubiquitous monsters in D&D, and for good reason. Their regeneration ability is a creative gift when it comes to making unique variations. There are a lot of types of trolls, and you can do some fun things with them. And this is definitely one of the better troll minis, especially because his legs are better supported so we don't have to worry so much about him getting bent out of shape. A regular troll has a CR of 5. And now we get into the rares, and the rares are where we meet our important NPCs and where the spoilers become a bit heavier. So again, mute me if you don't want to get spoiled. I'll try to tread lightly though. There are 15 rares in the set, so the distribution is a little bit different than normal. We opened 1 brick and got 4 rares in it, including Indolin and her Ornithopter in 1 box, so you should still be getting 1 of each rare in a case. All that aside, Zybilna here is, or possibly was, the somewhat temperamental ruler of the domain of Prismeer in the Feywild. It's her seeming disappearance that drives the adventure. This is Pincushion, a fashion-obsessed living doll, one of Skabatha's servants and guards. It was actually Skabatha's childhood doll brought to life by Baba Yaga herself to help tutor Skabatha. Now, Pincushion is charged with producing fabric for her toy workshop, a job definitely beneath the talents of a fashionista like Pincushion. A living doll has a CR of 2. Ah, here he is, His Majesty, King Gullop the XIV, who won the throne in the traditional way by boiling his predecessor Mullub the XVI in oil. His pet is a baby crocodile named Snoodle, sadly not present in this set. King Gullop is new to his position, and, as per tradition, schemes are already afoot to topple his rule. You see, the king let Sir Talavar, the fairy dragon, escape, and Barvlona the hag is not very happy with him. Now Gullop needs to find a way to avoid her wrath, and maybe the PCs can help with that. He uses a CR3 Bullywug Royal stat block. I was a bit surprised that these two didn't appear in the Witchlight Carnival Premium set, but I suppose they aren't technically members of the carnival itself. See, this is Eliwick Tumblestrum, and she's a planeswalker bard. She serves as an enigmatic, very powerful resource for the players, perhaps pulling the strings in the background to weave fate in the way she wants it to unfold. Being a planeswalker, which is a Magic the Gathering term, she had a card in the recent Adventures in the Forgotten Realms Magic the Gathering set. And that means she's had a lot of great art done for her and her froggy companion, Groak. She's so enigmatic that she doesn't even have a stat block in the adventure, so it's a bit unclear on how powerful she actually is. I rather wonder if we haven't seen the last of Miss Tumblestrum here. Here we have Agdon Longscarf, the pilfering Harengon who made away with Clapperclaw's head. He's also the leader of the Harengon Brigands and hither known for his long flowing blue scarf and his lightning quick speed. He was finally caught and imprisoned by Zybilna after one too many raids, but when she vanished and the Hourglass Coven came into power, they freed him for a cut of his stolen loot. He's an insufferable braggart and a thief with a CR of 2. And here's our first member of the Hourglass Coven, Skabatha Nightshade, or Granny Nightshade if you're nasty. All 3 members of the Coven are daughters of Baba Yaga, and Skabatha is the oldest. She offers deals to those who have regrets in life, but as you can imagine, her solutions usually involve cruel twists. She assumes the guise of an old toy maker and is part toy herself, as you can tell from the wind-up key sticking out of her back. She has a CR of 8. Her sister is Bavlorna Brightstraw, or Slack-Jawed Lorna, the middle child. Flies literally fly in and out of her always open mouth. People seek her out to solve problems that are vexing them at that moment. Her toad-like face allows her to swallow people whole, and like someone diseased from an aboleth, she must submerge herself in brine for at least an hour a day. She hates doing work and trusts no one, so like some of us wish we could do, she creates little duplicates of herself called Lornlings to serve as attendants. She has a CR of 7. Our final member of the Hourglass Coven is Endlin Moongrave, or Creepy Lynn, or the Bitter End, the baby of the family. People come to her to learn about their futures, which she details for them through grotesque theatrical pageants right on her person. In return, she takes a bit of their free will, preventing them from taking certain actions. She seems to know her own death as well, which occurs during a solar eclipse. She wears a gauzy shroud over her face that functions as a type of theater curtain. She has a CR of 8. Okay, all that nastiness out of the way, now we have Jingle Jangle, a gentle, kind goblin who refers to herself in the third person like Dobby. She has a thing for finding keys. She loves finding keys. And she gifts those keys to people who need them. There's nothing worse than a locked door in Jingle Jangle's mind. She hopes to find a quiet life for herself, far away from any stupid locked doors. And who can blame her? She uses the goblin stat block and has a CR of 1/4. And here's where things get really interesting. Allow me to introduce you to, apparently, Sugarlump, though I don't actually see that name used anywhere in the adventure. Each of the hags has a mount, essentially, and this flying rocking horse belongs to Granny Nightshade. And it has a new flying rocking horse stat block that you can use for it. Its CR is 1/8. Now, in our very limited experience in opening our brick of boosters, the hag came with her corresponding mount in the same box, and it came with the parts necessary to have them use the mount. Granny Nightshade's upper body can be removed from her mini, and the top of the rocking horse can also be removed. Then you can put Granny's upper body on an included extra lower body, and then that can attach to the rocking horse. It's basically a smaller version of the frost giant who rides the mammoth that we reviewed a couple of weeks ago. So you get 2 minis that combine into one. It's not immediately obvious that the top of the rocking horse comes off, so you really have to get in there with your fingernails. And at least for my model, it was a really tight fit getting her upper body into that extra lower body, so be a bit careful putting them together. But man, this is a cool mini. The floating lily pad, or bobbing lily pad as it's known in the book, is actually a magical item. Your own personal little hovercraft that can hover across land and water at a speed of 20 feet. This sweet ride belongs to Bavlorna, and there's not extra parts here. You can just place the mini on top of the lily pad. Though, they did make it so that you can easily remove Bavlorna's base so that she looks a little bit more natural on the lily pad, and she also stays up there a bit better without that slick plastic base. The bobbing lily pad is 10 feet in diameter, and it can transport up to 300 pounds without hindrance, so it could theoretically carry probably your entire party. Finally, we have the Ornithopter, perhaps the coolest of the mounts. This one belongs to Endlin Moongrave. It's also a magical item that gives the rider a flying speed of 30 feet. Like Bavlorna, you can easily remove Endlin from her base to place her atop the Ornithopter. And she uses this not just to fly around her Fey kingdom, but also in the various theater performances that she stages. Another thing to keep in mind is that sometimes the hags will retreat from their realms if the heat on them gets a little bit too hot. And these various flying mounts allow them to make quick getaways. It's not the capstone slot of the collection, but I think the Jabberwock is probably the capstone mini of the set. It is by far the biggest mini here. The recent Pathfinder battle set, Darklands Rising, also featured a Jabberwock, and we'll show you those two together in just a moment. The Jabberwock is Zabilna's pet, and is hostile to anyone but her. And the CR13 Jabberwock is probably the biggest challenge the players will face in this adventure. Luckily, there are quite a few things the characters can do to avoid a fight here altogether, as they technically can with all the encounters in this book, or they can at least level the playing field a little bit. And of course, the Jabberwocks are vulnerable to vorpal weapons. Jabberwocks are rather silly looking things, but they can certainly pack a punch. Luckily, there's a certain giant owl in the adventure who wouldn't mind making a snack out of the Jabberwock if this is a fight your team wants to skedaddle past. And here you can see him next to his Pathfinder counterpart. 8 cats perch atop 8 dead attending. 8 lizards flee from 8 rats scavenging. 8 toads climbing meet 8 dead and falling. 8 snakes sneak under 8 bats screaming. 8 eyes open, always dreaming. All on the cauldron that is ever seeming. Igvil's cauldron is considered an artifact created by Baba Yaga that plays an important part in this adventure. It has 2 forms. This is its iron form, and without giving anything away, it's extremely powerful. And in case you're wondering, the lid can be removed. And number 50 is the gold version of the cauldron. As you can see, it's not just the same mini painted a different color. It's an entirely different look, though the lid is still removable. I hesitate to tell you much more about the cauldron, but I will say that the gold form is more restorative, while the iron form is more destructive. If someone is using it against you, run. And surprise, there's one more, quote, mini in the set. This is the unicorn horn. This isn't really something I remember seeing in an Icons of the Realm set before. It's not a mini that's in scale with the other minis. This is a player handout that you might find from Beetle and Grimm's. And the unicorn horn is an important item in the adventure, so having something that you can physically hand to the players when they find it can be great. I don't necessarily mind cool player handouts like this in future sets, but I know that it might be an unpopular opinion. So maybe they're best used sparingly. This set is great for a number of reasons. First, it's very much a Feywild set, and a Wild Beyond the Witchlight set. If you plan to run this adventure, or if you love whimsical Fey creatures like the Bullywugs, then this set is a no-brainer. And if you're someone who has zero interest in this adventure, then it's probably an easy skip for you. With the exception of, I think, the Myconid, the Troll, and the Grell, every mini in this set appears in the Witchlight adventure. Some folks may not be happy with the limited number of large and huge minis in the collection, and I understand that. It's just the nature of this particular adventure. And I love that we got so many minis for this adventure. I appreciate that they were divided out so that if you just wanted Valor's Call or the League of Malevolence, you could just get those sets without worrying about random booster boxes. And if you just want to run the Carnival, you've got the separate Carnival set, though I still want some papercraft tents to go along with it if you're watching, Patrick. And even with the 50 minis in this set, there's still a few important NPCs and monsters that didn't make the cut, including Diana Cloppington, definitely not a centaur, Mudlump, the Cyclops beekeeper, Yarn Spinner, the perfectly named giant spider storyteller, Thinnings the butler, and the glasswork golem. But we can't have everything. Overall, I really love this collection, and I love it most of all because I plan to run this adventure over the next year or so here on the channel. I hope you'll tune in to see what we do with it. I think it'll be a lot of fun. We should be getting it off the ground in the next month or 2 or 3. It'll air here on YouTube on Wednesday nights, and it'll hit our podcast feed on Fridays. Let me know what you think think of Wild Beyond the Witchlight in the comment section down below. Don't forget to enter the contest by being a subscriber to the channel and leaving that comment down below, letting me know which one you like the best. It looks like the release date for this particular set officially slipped to December 2021. With global shipping issues, all the release dates I mentioned in all my videos are the best guesses I have at the time. And also, please take a moment to check out the ongoing Kickstarter for Fool's Gold Into the Bellowing Wilds by our friends at Hit Point Press. This is a 5e adventure and campaign setting book by the folks at Dingo Doodles, so you know it's going to be cute and funny and beautiful and deadly. The book will have a level 10 to 20 adventure, and FYI, Wild Beyond the Witchlight ends at level 10, plus a new harvesting and alchemy system, a new subschool of magic, new spells, monsters, curses, and more. And by the time you watch this, I am sure that they'll have broken through that $1 million stretch goal, adding even more content to the book, namely the neighboring kingdom of Kylandria and the virtual tabletop assets for you online players. Plus, they have a ton of amazing minis and unique minis, including the 12-inch tall Tarrasque that you definitely have to check out. Use our link below the video to see what it's all about and kindly let them know that the Gallant Goblin sent you. That's Fool's Gold Into the Bellowing Wilds on Kickstarter right now. If you're looking for an awesome adventure that you can run with just one box, you need to check out the Epic Encounters line from Steamforged Games. These are some of the best deals in gaming this year. Each release features 2 boxes. First, there's the Minion box with 20 really great minis, a double-sided map, and an entire 5e adventure to run. The minis are also completely usable in your own D&D or Pathfinder games. Next, you've got the boss boxes with 1 epic-sized boss in each box. You've got things like a red dragon, a frost giant, a hydra, or a snake god. You also get a double-sided layer map, tokens, and a guidebook to teach you how to run a cinematic, unpredictable encounter with your boss monster, one that your players won't soon forget. Check the link in the eye in the corner of the screen to see our playlist of reviews for all the Epic Encounter boxes released so far, and learn more by clicking our link below the video, which will let them know we sent you. And thank you for watching today. Now, I have 10 things that you can do right now to make my day. 1, click the little thumbs up below the video here so other people can find us. 2, open a tab and type in koboldplush.com. Sign up to be notified when we launch our Kickstarter Kobold Plushie Kickstarter. 3, open another tab and type in bonfirebites.com and get yourself a free, fun Kobold adventure and check out our cute ongoing webcomic. 4, right-click on the Fool's Gold link under the video here and open it in another tab to see if it's something you'd like to back. 5, open yet another tab and type in gallantgoblin.com/painting contest to see how you can show off your artistic and photographic skills to win some cool prizes. And don't worry if you're not a pro, I'm not either. We have a lot of prizes for folks of all skill levels. 6, come join our Discord server and chat about minis, D&D, Pathfinder, movies, TV, books, all sorts of stuff. We have a great community and we'd love to have you come and join us. 7, come follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram to see all the latest cool happenings. And 8, 9, and 10, be safe, have fun, and love each other. I'll see you next time at the Gallant Goblin.